Greetings. As we come together as a faith community this morning, may we find healing, connection, wonder, and joy in this sacred space. I am Reverend Amy Moses Lagos, and it is my privilege to serve as the minister at Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church, or as we refer to it, BBUUC. I use the pronouns she and her. BBUUC is located on the ancestral land of the Timucuan people. I want to offer you a warm welcome to our service. BBUUC is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We are coming to you from our YouTube channel. This is one of the many ways we are staying connected during this time of social distancing. We are offering many opportunities to connect online, including classes, small group ministry, family religious education, and our Sunday fellowship hour, where we will discuss today's service and enjoy each other's company. Keep an eye on the church website, calendar, Facebook page, and your email for more information about the congregation's various programs and activities.
We light our chalice today using the words of Maureen Killoran. Love is the aspiration, the spirit that moves and inspires the faith we share. Rightly understood, love can nurture our spirits and transform the world. May the flame of this chalice honor and embody the power and blessing of the love we need, the love we give, the love we are challenged always to remember and to share. I have a story to share with you today, which comes from an ancient Sufi parable called the Parable of the Stream. There was a stream which had its origins high in a hidden place among the mountains. From there, the stream flowed, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, in a wide area, but every time the stream encountered an obstacle, it found a way to get through. It might go over the obstacle, around the obstacle. Sometimes it even had to go underground. But no matter what, the stream was able to get past the obstacle. Then one day, the stream came to a vast desert. But the stream was confident it could overcome this obstacle just as it had all the others it had ever encountered. So the stream flung itself into the air, but instead of going over the desert, the stream just fell and disappeared in the sand. The stream tried this over and over again, but every single time, the water just fell into the sand and disappeared. The stream knew that crossing this desert was its destiny, but it couldn't figure out how to get across. And the stream became distressed and upset and sad. Just then, the stream heard a voice come from the sand of the desert itself. The sand said, "The wind knows how to cross the desert, and the stream can cross the desert as well." The stream objected, "Well, the wind can fly. I'm not the wind. I can't fly, so I don't see how I can get across the desert." The sand spoke again. "Stream, you must allow yourself to be absorbed into the wind so the wind can carry you across the desert." Again, the stream objected. I would lose my individuality if I allowed myself to be absorbed into the wind. And I don't want to lose my individuality, so I can't accept that method of crossing the desert. The sand spoke again. In any event, you are not going to remain exactly who you are at this moment. You will either let yourself be absorbed into the wind and carried across the desert, or you will fall into the sand on this side and just disappear, as you have been doing. The stream was very troubled by this. It had not allowed itself to be absorbed into anything. But the sand said, that's the wind's job, to absorb water and carry it across the desert. The stream had a dim memory of a time that it, or a part of it, had been absorbed by the wind and carried. So, in a leap of faith, the stream rose up in a vapor and let itself be taken into the strong arms of the wind. The wind gently carried the water across the desert to the far mountains on the other side of the desert. And then the wind let the water fall onto the ground as rain. And the rain made a stream again. The stream thought to itself, now, for the first time, I really understand what it means to be a stream. At BBUUC, the church is not just the building. The church is you, each member of the congregation. At this time, BBUUC is engaged in its capital campaign, Paying It Forward. We have committed to early payoff of all our promissory notes, which constitute the mortgage on our building, and we have committed to pay those off no later than November 1st, 2021. Early payoff is so important because it will free up substantial cash flow each year to use in fulfilling the mission of the church. A capital campaign has been initiated for donations to fund this effort, and it has been encouraged by a very generous $50,000 in matching funds. There are different ways you can donate to the capital campaign. You can send a personal check by mail. You can use the link on the church's website, or you can use the PayPal giving fund. If you use PayPal, please send an email to finance@bbuuc.org with your instructions so that we will know you want it to go to the capital campaign. Your donations are deeply appreciated.
Learning from Daffodils by Ruth Gibson. When you look at a daffodil, there are lots of things you notice. Almost no one ever notices the little withered brown bit at the base of the flower. But it's really important. When the daffodils come up, the ground is still pretty hard and there is sometimes cold and snow. So at first, the daffodils have a tough green skin protecting their blossoms. After it gets warmer, the daffodil doesn't need this protection, and it shrivels and dies. Often in our lives, just as for the daffodil, some part of us has to shrivel up and die so that some new part of us can grow and give beauty to the world. Oddly enough, though, the dead shriveled up part of a daffodil doesn't fall away. There are two things we can learn from a daffodil to help ourselves and each other. We can be brave and wise enough when the right time comes to push out from under the tough skins of our souls that protect us from all that is hard and harsh, that can damage the more fragile parts of ourself. We can let some parts of ourselves die so that new parts of ourselves can live in beauty. We can hold on to the shriveled up dead bits, especially if doing so helps us remember to honor and value all parts of ourselves, all parts of our experience. Just because we don't need that part or that way of being in the world now doesn't mean that part has no value. It was very necessary to have that protection then, and very good to remember and appreciate it now. This is the time in our service when we pause to create sacred space in our hearts. We pause to reflect on the recent days with joys, sorrows, fears, gratitude, and love. We recall the milestones, the changes in our lives, and those who need our healing thoughts. Our community is deepened by sharing. If you would like to include a joy, concern, or milestone in a Sunday service, please send an email to office@bbuuc.org by Tuesday. We light a candle of love and care in recognition that August 22nd marks the one-year passing of L&M's beloved son, Eric Bass, who unexpectedly died at the age of 33. Please consider making a donation in his memory to the Eric Bass Swim Lesson Scholarship Fund, sponsored by the Swimming Safari Swim School, owned and operated by our very own Joni M. Eric was one of the first instructors at the swim school and was much beloved. Donations made to the fund will provide swim lessons for children in the Jacksonville community and the community Eric grew up in, who otherwise would not be able to afford them. Information about donating will be in the September journey. Let us as a congregation show our love and support to our longtime member, Ellen M., who has faithfully served our church community since 1993. We light a candle of joy for the news that my husband, Ricardo L., has passed his private pilot check ride. This is a test with the Federal Aviation Administration to receive a private pilot certificate. Ricardo is now certified to fly a small aircraft by himself and take passengers. Congratulations, Ricardo. We light a final candle for all the joys and concerns that are present in our hearts today. For the joys shared, we join you in celebration. For the sorrows and concerns spoken here, may you feel our sympathy and compassion. For all that remains unspoken, both joy and sorrow, may the caring of our community offer you both kindness and hope.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know, 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 I know this rose will I know my fear, I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose, I
Once upon a time, there was a woman named Laura who had 3 beautiful adult daughters and a wonderful husband. Laura had a good life. She had overcome a debilitating chronic illness, and she was now in good health. After years of anxiety and uncertainty related to money, she had reached a place of financial security. She had good relationships with her adult daughters and enjoyed connecting with them on weekly family Zoom calls. She had recently celebrated a wedding anniversary with her partner. But in spite of all these positive developments in Laura's life, she felt a pervasive sense of sadness. It was especially noticeable when her firstborn daughter, Susan, was preparing for her upcoming wedding to her fiance. Laura was supposed to be helping with the planning, but as the days went by, she kept putting off the tasks of ordering the flowers, calling the caterers, and scheduling the musicians for the big event. Laura was feeling sad, and she didn't know why she felt sad. She also felt guilty because she thought she should be feeling really happy given all the things that were going so well in her life and her daughter's upcoming wedding. Laura was seeing a therapist at the time, and she shared all of these feelings in her therapy session. I read her story in the book, Healing Through the Dark Emotions, The Wisdom of Grief, Fear, and Despair, written by Miriam Greenspan. I was very moved by this story and inspired by Laura's courage in exploring her grief as she prepared for a joyful event in her life. I decided to share this story with you this morning, and I hope that you find something in it that is of value to you in your life. Laura's therapist was the author of the book I mentioned, Miriam Greenspan. In her session, Miriam invited Laura to give voice to her true feelings. She reminded Laura that emotions are information. If we listen to them, they can offer us valuable wisdom about how to move through and heal our pain. Miriam invited Laura into a process in which she felt her emotions in her physical body and allowed them to speak to her. Out of this process came a story about Laura's family history. Laura's beloved grandmother was named Sadie. Sadie was Jewish and born in Russia. When Sadie was a little girl, her mother died, giving birth to Sadie's brother. She was then raised by her beloved grandmother. Sadie experienced poverty and persecution as a Jew in Russia. She came to the United States alone at age 15, seeking a new beginning. There, she met a wonderful man and fell in love. Her grandmother, who still lived in Russia, was invited to come to their wedding. Tragically, on the day Sadie's grandmother was scheduled to travel to the United States for the wedding, she was robbed and murdered. Words cannot describe how devastating this event was for Sadie. Laura sobbed as she told the story. On the day of her wedding, a day that was supposed to be filled with joy, Sadie was mourning the loss of her grandmother, the woman who had raised her. Laura had inherited the lesson that joy is punished by loss. Greenspan writes, "Fear and grief were a kind of emotional legacy inherited from her grandmother's history of trauma and loss in two critical moments of happiness, the birth of her brother and her wedding." When Laura had the courage to explore her sadness related to her daughter's wedding, she was able to access the wisdom that she needed in order to heal from the trauma of her past. Laura's therapist asked her what her grandmother would say to her. Laura replied, speaking in her grandmother's voice, "I felt both happy and sad on my wedding day. Now it's your time to celebrate your daughter's wedding. And I say to you, let yourself be happy, for it is truly a joyous occasion. I will be with you during the entire day." Laura's feelings of sadness as she prepared for her daughter's wedding were a way she was protecting herself from potential pain and disappointment. Like the tough green skin of the daffodil, her sadness had played a role in protecting her from the pain of loss. As she moved on from the grief of her past and embraced the joy of her daughter's wedding, she outgrew that protective shell. She was able to blossom into joy. Ruth Gibson writes in the lesson, Learning from Daffodils, "Often in our lives, just as for the daffodil, some part of us has to shrivel up and die so that some new part of us can grow and give beauty to the world." Laura had the courage to let go of an old story, a story that said that if she allowed herself to be happy, she would end up being disappointed. Laura embraced a new identity as a person who could experience joy and celebrate her daughter's love and happiness. Like the stream that had the courage to cross the desert, Laura had the courage to explore a new part of her emotional landscape. She was able to integrate her past grief and pain into her being in a new and powerful way. Sometimes we need to let go of an old story, a story that played a role in protecting our heart from pain in the past. Letting go of the old story allows us to grow into our most full and expansive selves. Together in community, we can support one another in finding the courage to tell our stories of loss and grief so that we might move towards wholeness and healing in our hearts. We can have the courage to explore challenging emotions and see what they have to teach us and how they might help us experience greater joy and deeper love. Ruth Gibson offers two lessons that we might take from the daffodils. First, we can be brave and wise enough when the right time comes to push out from under the tough skins of our souls that protect us from all that is hard and harsh, that can damage the more fragile parts of ourself. We can let some parts of ourselves die so that new parts of ourselves can live in beauty. And we can hold on to the shriveled up dead bits, especially if doing so helps us remember to honor and value all parts of ourselves, all parts of our experience. Just because we don't need that part or that way of being at the world now, doesn't mean that part has no value. It was very necessary to have that protection then, and very good to remember and appreciate it now. I wonder if there is a time when you allowed a part of yourself to die so that something new might be born. I wonder how we can support each other in community as we continue the difficult and rewarding work of growth and transformation. I wonder if there are stories you have let go of that you still honor and appreciate for what they have taught you. I wonder how you value all the parts of who you have been and who you are now. Let us listen deeply to one another's stories as we have the courage to explore our emotional lives. May we help one another in having the courage to explore grief and fear, so we might learn where we are outgrowing an old story and being called into a new chapter. May our journeys of transformation help us grow our heart's capacity for joy and love. And may we help bring this love into the world around us. May it be so. Amen.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Our closing words today come from Elena Westbrook. Go in hope, for the arc of the universe is long, and we can bend it toward justice. Go in courage, for together we have the strength to confront injustice in our daily lives and in the larger world. Go in love, because a holy and generous love is both the reason and the means by which we transform our lives. Blessed be, and amen.